Hello and welcome to our guide for Immerseus, the first boss in the Siege of Orgrimmar. The fight has two phases, the Immerseus Phase and the Split Phase, that alternate until the boss dies. In the Immerseus Phase, seen here, the boss is stationary in the center of the room. He has a corruption resource which starts out at 100 when the fight begins. Each time you bring Immerseus to 0 health, he enters the Split Phase. He splits up into many adds that appear around the room. Some of these adds are friendly and you must heal them, while others are hostile and you must kill them. As you can see, all the adds are heading towards the center of the room. The phase ends when all the adds reach the center, excluding those adds that you managed to kill before then. When this happens, the Immerseus Phase starts all over again, but Immerseus' corruption will be lower depending on how many adds you managed to heal and kill in the Split Phase. When he spawns, his health is also going to be at the same percentage as his corruption. As the fight goes on, Immerseus' corruption will be lower and lower with each Split Phase, and the boss is finally defeated when he reaches 0 corruption. Let's look at what happens in the two phases. In the Immerseus Phase, the boss uses 3 abilities. Corrosive Blast is a frontal cone attack that deals shadow damage and applies a debuff that increases shadow damage taken. This ability requires your 2 tanks to perform a tank switch each time it is cast. Sha Bolt is cast by Immerseus roughly every 10 seconds. Each time it is cast, it places a small void zone under every raid member, and it damages all players and anyone else in a 5-yard radius around them. This ability means that your raid must be spread out at all times during the Immerseus Phase, and as you can see, that everyone will need to always be moving out of the void zones that spawn on them. Swirl is the 3rd ability that Immerseus uses in this phase. 2 things happen when Immerseus casts Swirl. First of all, a number of small void zones spawn and move around the room, dealing damage to any players they come in contact with and knocking them up. Secondly, Immerseus spins clockwise for 10 seconds while channeling a deadly breath attack in front of him. When Immerseus finishes spinning, the moving void zones also disappear. It's also worth noting that you can't run through the boss, and anyone who tries to do so gets damaged and knocked back. It's important that your raid is distributed more or less evenly around the room, so that when Immerseus reaches 0 health and splits, there are players in all areas of the room ready to handle the adds. The 2 types of adds in the Split Phase are called Sha Puddles and Contaminated Puddles. The Sha Puddles are hostile and can be killed. They have no abilities and they do not melee. When a Sha Puddle is killed, it grants raid members within 10 yards of it a stack of a short duration buff that increases damage done to other Sha Puddles by 25%. If a Sha Puddle reaches the center of the room before it is killed, then it deals a moderate amount of raid-wide damage. The Contaminated Puddles are friendly and they start out damaged. Your healers will have to top these mobs off before they reach the center of the room. When a Contaminated Puddle is fully healed, it buffs all players within 12 yards of it, restoring 25% of their mana and granting them a stack of a short duration buff that increases healing done by 75%. When a Contaminated Puddle reaches the center of the room, it deals a moderate amount of raid-wide damage. Puddles that are fully healed still move to the center, but they only deal a small amount of damage when they reach it. It is important to note that the Contaminated Puddles move slower the more health they have. So during this phase, your DPS players should try to kill all the Sha Puddles and your healers should try to heal all the Contaminated Puddles. You can root and stun the Sha Puddles, which is very helpful. Your healers will need to watch out for the raid damage that goes out every time a puddle reaches the center, and players should make sure not to be out of range of healers. Keep in mind that the ratio between the number of Sha Puddles and Contaminated Puddles in each Split Phase changes as the fight goes on. In the first Split Phase, you will see a large number of Sha Puddles and few Contaminated ones, and when Immerseus' corruption is low, there will be mostly Contaminated Puddles with only a few Sha Puddles. You should use Heroism or Bloodlust at the very start of the fight, since that will be the longest Immerseus Phase you will have to go through. For a more detailed and constantly updated written version of this guide, go to the link in the description. Thank you for watching.